I'm going to take it that when Gemma's doing this in the corner...
We got the hand. We got the hand and a proper floor manager's countdown.
So she got to 3 and
then she was like 3, 2, 1.
Because it's buffering. I do it to George always.
Oh, it makes me laugh. I don't even look half time. Yeah. Freddie's just twigged because they like to do this behind. Yeah, he's just twigged that means that anyone stood behind him is getting the V.
Yeah,
he's like, Mum, it's so rude.
Yes.
Well, only if it's intended.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. We are not flicking the V to you at all. We are saying good morning to you. It is a magic Monday. I'm told it's always a magic Monday when you're on, Jane.
It's a bit rude, isn't it? It's a bit rude because it's always magic when you're here, Natasha.
Well, I don't know about that, but do you know what is good news?
Go on then.
Well, we have a little bit of news for you guys, actually. I'll say good morning first and then we'll tell you about that. But all I'm going to say is you have got to keep your eyes on the website today.
Ooh.
Because we are starting a mega sale. I'll tell you why in a minute. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, I know. I love this, Jane. I keep stroking it because you look so pretty in it. Today is the last day of me being the mother of a 4-year-old.
Sadness a little bit.
Miss Emily Alice.
Mind you, she's always been going on 40 anyway, hasn't she?
The things she comes out
I
with.
know, she's just lovely. She's so grown up in her ways.
Where she hears it from.
Well, she must pick it up as she's walking around listening to all of us, I suppose. She does spend a lot of time with us, doesn't she?
Yeah, she always has done from the day dot.
Yeah, and when we were in the warehouse, she was always with us.
So she's part 4-year-old, part menopausal woman.
Yes.
That's what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Is that why she rages?
Could be.
Brilliant.
She's hormonal without knowing it.
Oh, tell me about it. Poor Jimmy is the first name that I see.
Bless.
Morning, Jimmy.
Morning,
Afternoon,
Jimmy.
Evening, Jimmy. We have got Sue's with us. Hello. Syl's with us. And obviously Jimmy. Liz. She says, oh no, we're frozen. Don't know. What? Your mum's here.
Hi, Mum.
Morning. Jackie's here. Jane's here. Joy's here. Julia's here. Everybody's joining. Joining. It's a Monday morning.
Manic Monday, as always, really. It's always a little bit, isn't it, on a Monday, catching up with everything from the weekend. And
Oh my goodness. I did that thing of leaving the school forms to fill out until this morning and not being able, and then just finding them when we got in the car. Being like, oh, when will I adult? When, Jane? When?
It's boring adulting.
It's really dull, isn't it? Right,
Yeah.
Today we have got this fabulous quilt. I got hold of this William Morris fabric, Strawberry Thief, utterly beautiful. I've got a squiddly bit left over. It is in marine.
It's gorgeous.
Not in the marines, but it is marine. Marine. And this is what we've got left over after we have made all the kits. I've got a 38 centimetre piece, a metre piece, and then whatever these say on the end. So 95 centimetre piece, a 1 metre 30 and another 1 metre 30. They are going into the bolt end section. They will be linked to today's show. Will they not, Gemma? La. Yeah.
She's on it this morning as our Gems.
She's
manically tippy-tapping away.
Well, that's because I came in and went, all of these, oof.
Discounted.
Yeah, we're going to put a discount on them. So, we are moving warehouse. Again. Okay. I like that my warehouse moves almost as often as I do now.
It just goes with you.
I think it saves spring cleaning.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah. So, it means that I don't want to move everything today.
No.
I just don't. So if
Just
we
give
can
it away.
clear as much of the website, well, that's just
Yeah.
it. If we can clear as much of the warehouse as we can over the next couple of weeks, it's less for us to
move on.
Yeah,
makes
I've already
sense.
started moving stuff.
Yeah, came in this morning after the furniture had gone. I was like, where's that?
Yeah, if we had thieves.
Yeah.
No, it was me.
Yeah.
It was
I
me and a big
knew,
strong
because
man.
I knew that I've been known for a while, haven't we, that it was on the cards. So, yeah, it was going to happen.
Yeah. So we are on the move. Yeah, so lots of exciting things happening.
Yeah.
And the move being one of them. So if you would like to grab yourself a bargain, just keep an eye, because Gemma has got a whole pile of things that she is heavily discounting. When I say heavily discounting, Jane, I mean 30% off.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's worth grabbing while it's there, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes.
And then when it's gone, it's gone.
I need to see what you're discounting, Gemma. I might need stuff.
I know. So it is one of those things. Over the next couple of weeks, please just keep checking in, because we're going to keep adding to the website, adding to it, and it will be added to whilst we're not on air as well. So just keep looking.
Yes.
Because it's going to be there. Keep an eye on it. We can always order combine. I'm sorry, Jane. That means
It's not a problem.
Just
Love doing it.
pop a
Actually,
little note
it's quite straightforward.
on your order. If you have placed more than one order
Yeah.
in a day, then we will refund you your postage, because it's not. We'll pop it in one packet, so we're not going to charge you 3 lots of postage. So you can order combine. We just have to refund it. We have to do it manually because we don't have the IT systems in place.
No, and it's not too difficult to process, because I've got a calculator, so it's okay.
It is amazing. She does maths and everything. So, Joan, gorgeous quilt. I'm going to get out of the way.
Okay.
Let you.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to give my mic to Gemma. I'm going to mute it for a second. I'm going to give it to Gemma, and then as and when she loads stuff,
she can say.
She can say. She's looking rather fabulous today. She's got some
She
sort of
always
wafty
looks
affair
fabulous.
with cranes on, which I have coveted for a while now. Don't know where you got it from.
Should look at the kits
Go on
while
then,
you
you have a look
while
at the
you
kits.
squish off camera.
Yeah. I'm going to go and do useful things. I know.
We've got 2 colourways. Basically, the core of the fabric is the same, because Tash likes to give me a challenge.
Always.
And we had all these bolt ends of the beautiful Strawberry Thief Marine, but only squiddly diddly bits on the bolts. So literally bolt ends, less than a metre some of them. And I thought about it, and I thought quite often in our stash we'll have a fabric that we absolutely adore, but we haven't got very much of it, and we think, oh, I don't know what to do with this, because it's never going to make a quilt. Well, I've made a quilt with what is essentially a long quarter or a fat quarter. You could do it with a fat quarter as well. So you're going to get a long quarter of your accent fabric, which is this beautiful Strawberry Thief. The colourway behind me, did we end up calling it teal biscuit? I don't know what we were calling it.
That one's biscuit paprika, because I thought,
biscuit paprika.
Yeah.
So I love the little strawberries in here, and they're actually on this fabric, they're not red, and our paprika just picked up those strawberries beautifully. So that's what I've used for the little star next to it. It's basically a sawtooth star repeated, the block. We've got some beautiful bumbleberries which pick up the beautiful teal that's in the fabric. You've got teal, which we thought would be nice as the binding, give it a real nice full stop. I haven't managed to get this quilt top quilted or bound, so I'm pretty sure, I don't know, will the quilt top be available for somebody to purchase?
It's one less thing to pack.
Yeah. So, you might want to get that. We'll put the binding fabric in there. Then we've got the biscuit and cream, which I felt all worked around my feature fabric, which is this beautiful Strawberry Thief by Morris & Co. It's just gorgeous. Look at that. Fabulous. So that's kit 1, which we've called Paprika Biscuit. And then we always like to give you another colourway, so another colour option, because, browns, not everybody's cup of tea. I found that's quite a nice combination there. But we've gone a little bit brighter with this one, a more sort of blue.
Yeah.
So
something for everyone, Jane.
We've pulled more of the blues out of the fabric. It's exactly the same fabric. It's Strawberry Thief Marine. So this just goes to show, when you've got a fabric that you love, you quite often can pull different colours from the fabric. So we've looked more at the blue colours within this fabric now, and we've gone with our duck egg, and we've used the teal. The teal will be where the cream is on the pattern. And then we've gone
a front shot, Jane, so we can
ivory.
refer there.
Well, I've got a block made, so we can sort of discuss
marvellous.
it. So this is your block, basically. So you can see how I've changed it around just slightly. So I've gone paler for the star immediately against my feature fabric, deeper with the shadow star, and then the background in effect will be lighter. So it's going to give you a different overall effect. I might have made another couple of blocks so we can look at the secondary pattern when we've done it.
Jen,
So-
it makes for a more dominant shadow star, doesn't
Yes,
it?
it does.
In this colourway.
And if
So
we
I can see both, I'm lucky.
yeah, if we can go on the long shot, Gemma,
Yeah, of course.
the secondary pattern that's created, at first I thought it was going to be this square here. But actually when you look at it from a distance, you get sort of like a crosshatch pattern going through, which is created by the second star, the shadow. So there's lots of things that you can see. Your eye might focus on this square here.
Yeah.
But I think with the other colourway, you're going to get quite a different effect, which
Jane,
is
could
just
you
lovely.
Hold the other colourway block up to
Yes.
the quilt just to show that difference, because
It'll go
it's going to look very different, isn't
go
it?
there.
There.
So
That.
you can see how it fits into the. I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, I know. There's no magic.
Hold it there.
Go on, hold it there. Hold it there.
Hold it there. Let's put a pin in.
But that would work, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Little pin.
put a pin
Little
in.
pin. There we go.
So you can see how the corner, the 4 patches in the corner create this middle
Yeah.
square, but these corners of the triangle, the triangles here, then create this square here.
You
So-
flip dark for light and light for dark on
Yeah,
that second colourway. and it
basically,
just
yeah. So
creates
it's going to give
different
a different effect,
Yeah.
and actually probably brighter looking.
Mm.
You know, it's funny how the colours play, but this is just to show that with a little bit of your feature fabric, you can pull lots of different colours.
Sure.
Look at the colours within your fabrics. Quite often I'll pick a fabric that I like the colours of, use those for the basis of my quilt, and quite often that piece of fabric probably doesn't even end up in my quilt
Yeah. Yeah.
because
yeah.
I just like the colour combinations. It's funny how it works, isn't it?
But you know, Jane, just to reiterate, and I know you've said this, but you're literally using 1/4 metre of your feature print here.
Yes.
1/4 metre. That's
This
it.
makes this block, they're 16-inch blocks, so it's a, did I say 64-inch?
Mhm.
64-inch finished
Yes.
quilt,
Quilt. Yeah.
to which you can add more borders if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got the bolt end as well as the kit, you could add a border of your strawberry thief around. So it's a nice big sized
It is.
throw.
And if someone wanted to make a smaller one, Jane, then a 3x3, so
Yeah.
9 blocks would be a
Lovely,
fab
lovely lap
lap
quilt.
wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, absolutely.
And that would use even less fabric.
yeah,
So what we're saying is this pattern is one for the library. One to
Yes.
have there to pull on when you've got a small
absolutely.
amount of
Because
fabric.
the block on its own, you know, if you've got if you've had a charm pack and you've got a few squares left over
Yeah.
and you're not sure what to do with them, you could make a cushion
Yeah.
using just one of the charm packs from, you know, one of your squares.
And what a gorgeous cushion that would make. If we
Wouldn't
look
it?
at that block, just imagining that, perhaps with a nice piped edge,
Yeah,
or just, you know, you've done a bound edge as well.
we've done bound edge, we've done faux
Yeah.
piping, haven't we?
We have.
Flanged piping, and yeah, there's lots of combinations that you could use it for.
If anyone's not sure about making cushions, perhaps you've not gone into that, perhaps you've not forayed into cushion making, Jane has taken the guesswork out of this for you. She has done the most fabulous selection of cushion finishing with flair, we've called them, haven't we, Jane?
Yeah.
Patterns. So do check those out as well, because this block for me just is a classic example of where when you make that quilt, to make an extra block
Yeah.
and turn it into a cushion just upgrades the whole package. You know, if
Absolutely.
you're making it for a bed, make a couple. If you're making it for a gift, to do a little lap quilt and a cushion.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Nice present for
Yeah,
somebody.
really nice, Jane.
And of course, you know, it doesn't have to be classic Morris type fabrics.
No.
It could be one of your children's fabrics.
Yeah.
for a child's quilt,
Mm-hmm.
anything that you've got a bit of fabric, and we quite often have this. We've bought, quite a bit for borders and another pattern, and we'll have a little bit left over, and we're like, oh, I love this fabric, but I don't know what to do with it. So using your feature fabric to then create bigger blocks.
Yeah.
And
Jane,
it's amazing the colours you can pull.
some people might have a particular fabric they've seen on our website and they might think, well, I'd like to make the quilt out of that.
Yes.
They need for this quilt, it's 4 metres in total of plain, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
So if they added 8 units of, say, white to their basket and put in their notes, can you please choose my plains for me?
yeah.
And I'd like it to
Oh,
be...
that'd be so difficult.
Yeah,
I'd
I
hate
know.
that. I'd really hate doing that.
It's your least favourite thing
My
about it.
favourite
She
tab.
loves doing it. So if you aren't sure, perhaps you've seen a fabric, you've fallen in love with it. Those Beth and Janine fabrics we had last week.
Oh, yeah.
To be able to use those. Grab a ½ metre of your favourite print. You're going to have enough for your quilt. You're going to have some left over for cushions and other accessories.
Yeah,
stash,
absolutely.
whatever.
Yep.
Put 4 metres of a plain in your basket. So 8 units. And pop a note on to ask Jane to choose your colours. If you need your blender as well, so you can see we've got the bumbleberries on there, then again, just pop a bumbleberries in your basket or ask us, pop on the notes, can you add on a blender that you think would be the right one?
Yes.
Again, we can look, it might be that we go for that, it might be we go for a linen texture or something else
Yeah,
that
we've got some
here.
lovely ones
Um,
that would work.
We
yeah.
are very happy to have that creative license.
Love it.
Jane loves
We'll
it.
love
She's
it.
really happy
Yeah.
to do it. Don't ever worry about...
No, always, don't struggle.
No.
Don't struggle.
No,
There's
no.
nothing worse. And we're always happy to help if we can. So,
Sure.
yeah.
And if you know what you want to do, perhaps you can work it out for yourself.
Yeah.
Great, fabulous. We do sell our plains by the ½ metre. Similarly, we sell our bumbleberries by the ½ metre, and we sell our other blenders. You need ½ metre of blender.
Yes.
Your long quarter, fat quarter, or grab a ½ metre of your feature, and 4 metres of plain in total.
Yes.
But you'll be able to see on the page with the instructions on and the page with the kits what lengths you need for each.
Yeah.
There we go, Jane.
Lovely.
Good. Marvellous.
Wonderful. So, shall we make it? Shall we make
That'd
this
be
block?
good.
I've done a bit of pre-prep because it's a repeated pattern in effect. You're doing a sawtooth star in the middle and then you do a larger sawtooth star, but instead of plain squares you're doing a 4-patch. So you've got flying geese unit, just a larger one. Now I'm going to use my favourite method of making flying geese, which is my 5 squares no waste method. 1
Nice.
large square, 4 small squares. There are lots of different ways of making flying geese, but I love this method because there's no wastage. And because we need 4 in one go, it's a quick way of making them. So, you'll cut your square of your feature fabric. I have been able to slightly fussy cut my strawberry thief fabric. There is a little bit of give within the width of fabric strip because of the quantity you need. So you do have a little bit of play in the fabric. First of all, I just cut it and then I looked at the fabric and I was like, oh, I can actually work this because there is a little bit left over. There's room to do it. You're going to need for your flying geese, it is effectively quarter square triangles. So whatever size your middle square is, you want to add 1 1/4 inches to the finished size of what will be your quarter square triangle, because it will be the length of your square. And then you need 4 smaller squares. All the cutting instructions are within your pattern, and you're going to mark the diagonal line on all of these squares. You might want to, there's quite a lot of squares, you might want to do it per block, but it's a good idea to get it all done out of the way, because you might want to just make a couple of squares at a time, blocks at a time. It's not too difficult to block, and my pen's decided it's not going to work. Have I used all the ink out of it? I always mark my squares from the middle outwards.
Okay.
No, it's not going to go at that one.
Well,
Just having a
that's
look
just
to see if
rude, isn't it?
Natasha's got one in her.
You've got one in front of you, I think. Is that one? Is that a sew line one?
Yeah, it's air erasable. That will work just as well.
Good stuff.
Just because you're working across a bias, because you're working on the diagonal
That's where you go from the middle outwards.
from the middle outwards,
So you don't skew
just
the
prevents you
fabric.
stretching your fabric. You're not
Gotcha.
going to stretch it much, but it, you know, when you're
Depends how
working with
heavy-handed you
small,
are, Jane, doesn't it?
the less you move your fabric and everything. Always treat my fabric with flatter
Yeah.
beforehand. I just iron my fabric, spray it with flatter and then iron it again. Just gives it a bit of, not rigidity, but stabilises it a little bit so that it gives a nice clean cut. There's a lot of cutting on this for this quilt, so you might want to invest in a new blade. Always good to start a project with a nice fresh rotary cutting blade. So I'm going to place these two of these squares now in opposite corners on top, right sides together. So if you were using a pattern fabric, you have to remember that it's right sides together. Opposite corners with the diagonal line going from corner to corner. And yes, they will overlap in the middle. You need them to, so don't think, oh no, I've cut this wrong. They have to overlap. It's your seam allowance.
Okay.
And
I
we're
love
going
that
to
you tell
sew.
us this, Jane. It's so helpful because otherwise you look and you think, I've got this wrong. I've
Yeah,
got
well,
this
when you're
wrong.
doing something for the first time and you're trying to follow a pattern,
Yeah.
these little things don't always get written into the pattern just because otherwise it becomes a little bit too wordy. And, you know, we try to make our patterns as self-explanatory as possible and suitable for beginners with lots of lovely pictures to follow as well. But some things like this don't always get written into the pattern. So we're going to do 1/4 of an inch either side of that drawn line. So if you've got a machine that you can move your needle, that's ideal. It's a little bit difficult if you've got one of the 1/4 inch foot with the guide on, because it doesn't like the fact that it hasn't got any fabric to sit on the edge of. So those feet aren't so good for this method. But if you can move your needle across, or you've actually got a foot that's actually 1/4 of an inch wide, they're ideal. So we've sewn 1/4 of an inch either side of that drawn line. We're now going to cut along that drawn line from corner to corner. So we create 2 triangles that look like that. We're now going to press these little triangles up and away from the larger triangle that we've just created. Just give it a press just to set the seam, as it were. And you can see that when I press these 2 little triangles back, they do overlap slightly in the middle. And again, that's what you're aiming for, that's what you want it to do. You don't really want a gap there, because you'll struggle with your seam allowance at the end. So just pressing those up and away to create what look like 2 little love hearts, I always think. And then we're going to place our second lot of squares in that corner of the large triangle. So the line goes diagonally, well, vertically up through the middle of the peak of those 2 small triangles. And again, you want it to be bigger, so don't worry that your squares are too big. They need to go up and over. It's to give you a seam allowance at the top of your flying geese unit. And it's at this point you're like looking at your fabric and you're like, well, how is this going to become a flying geese unit? It's a little bit of magic, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know who invented this system, but it's brilliant.
We don't mind. Don't mind who it was. We're just glad they did.
Yes. All this quick piecing that makes life so much easier. So we're going to 1/4 of an inch either side of that drawn line again. So we've got the 1/4 inch either side of the line. I'm going to do that with the other one.
Chris has joined us, Jane. She says, good morning to you both. Love this quilt. Another clever Jane idea. This is so true. Oh, yes, now look, see. There's all sorts of people getting interruptions. They're trying to watch the show and they're getting interrupted. It's quite rude.
Oh, dear.
Debbie says, morning, ladies. The quilt is gorgeous. I have real flying geese that fly over my house around 5:30 p.m. every day from the river to the lake.
Yes.
I love watching them and get very excited.
Yeah, we have them at my mum's house. They fly over from hers, and we can sort of set the seasons, because in the beginning, sort of March time, they're flying one way, and at this time of year, they're flying the other way. They're going back, going south. So it's quite sad to see them flying back, but the noise, oh my gosh, there's hundreds of them. The noise, you hear them coming from miles away, but it's so lovely to see
Quite
them.
vocal, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Let's have a word.
So we've cut that along that line that we drew, the marked line, and again we're going to just press that up and away, and you can see now why we wanted that little bit of overlap. So we've got what is in effect the seam allowance at the top, so we don't lose the points of our triangle, the larger triangle, when we come to sew that in.
It's so satisfying, this, Jane. I love it.
And it's a lovely way, and it's a quick way of making 4 flying geese in one go.
Jane, your dress perfectly coordinates with these
I'm
blocks.
so coordinated with my fabrics today. It's untrue.
I'm so excited by this. Because no one else can appreciate this right at this very moment. I feel like I need to just point out that Jane's blocks and said frock
matched completely. Same colours and everything.
Very satisfying.
Right, so we're going to make 4 flying geese. This, I'm just making the block now. Obviously, there's 16 blocks in the actual finished quilt. You will probably want to make 1 block on its own to start with to get the feel of how the block goes together.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the blocks, chain piecing is your friend. You'll just whiz through this. It probably isn't a weekend quilt.
Okay.
But it will only take a couple of weekends probably to do it. And once you get into it, you'll want to get it finished. Right, so we're going to do that, and then you'll do exactly the same with your background fabric, your ivory. You'll have the large square of that, and then 4 squares of your teal colour. So you create 4 larger flying geese units.
This is your cut your teeth and get your confidence block,
Yeah.
the first one, isn't it? And
Yeah.
then, bam, you run with it.
And actually, you'll probably think, oh, this the bigger one, because there's more fabric and it comes to it's satisfying because you're using quite a lot of fabric. So you'll do that exactly the same method for flying geese of that. Then you're going to do your cornerstone units, your little 4 patches. You want 2 strips, one of your background fabric and one of your blender fabric, which we've used the bumbleberries. So 2 width of fabric strips, sewn together, seam pressed to one side, and I've pressed it towards the bumbleberries because that's the darker fabric. You'll then want to straighten off your one edge, and I always do this, I always line up my line on my ruler, my horizontal line on my ruler with my seam line rather than the top or the bottom of my fabric, just because with pressing and everything else it can just be a little bit wobbly.
Okay.
So I always use my seam line as my guide. Just trim off that selvage there and then turn that around, and we need to cut that into units the same width as the strips. As I say, all the measurements are in the instructions. And for each block you're going to need 8 of these little units. So again, there's quite a lot to cut and make, and it might be an idea that you'd want to, once you've got your first block done, is just cut all your units and all the fabric you know, make all the units first, so make all your flying geese and make all your 4 patches, just so that you've got them all there then ready, and you can just really get on with making your block. If your line goes a little bit wobbly, you can just take it and turn it around and just trim a little edge off there. Keep it nice and accurate. And again, you've got lots of opportunity here for chain piecing. You'll get these little 4 patches done in no time. So you've got all of these units now, and what you're going to do is you'll take 2 of them, so you'll make them into pairs, and you simply rotate 1 unit around, and then you're going to sew those together. And because you've pressed the seam to one side, they nestle really nicely and give you a nice crisp point where the fabric's all joined together in the middle. So again, 1/4 inch seam, and we can chain piece those. Now, for those of you that may be unfamiliar with the term chain piecing, it's just a way of piecing your fabric, and you just keep going. So I've sewn along that seam there, and I'm not going to cut the thread, I'm just going to keep sewing, so you get a little bit of a line of thread before you start sewing onto your next unit. And it just saves you time, saves you thread, and is quite satisfying because you end up with like a great big string of bunting when you've finished.
It's so satisfying though, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it really does save you thread too. I know that sounds a little bit frugal,
Yeah,
Jane,
but you know, everything that you can save along the way. Now, I'm not bothering to pin this because I've locked my seams. As I'm sewing down, it's sort of the fabric will push against each other and give it a nice crisp feel. But if you're unsure about that, you can always just pop a pin in along that seam there just to hold it while you take it to your machine and sew it that way. So you have, as I say, you get a nice string of bunting then where the thread is. And on most machines I've got a little thread cutter on them, so you can just snip that thread. There's your little easy snips or whatever you've got if you haven't got the thread cutter on your machine. Now we can always do, on a 4 patch, we can do what I like, my little twiddle in the middle.
Yes.
Where your seam goes across there, the few stitches in that seam, you can just unpick them. There's only a couple. You can use your unpicker or a little pin like I am on that side and on the opposite side. Maybe 1 or 2 stitches. There might not even be any. They might have just come and done.
And why do you do this, Jane?
I just do this. I'm just going to show you now. What happens is I can fold that fabric up and that fabric down, and it just makes a little 4 patch in the middle there. You can see that.
Which no one's going to see.
Nobody's going to see that. Nobody's going to see it at all.
However.
But when you're coming to quilting, and if you wanted to sew diagonally through your 4 patch, you're going to have much less bulk fabric here, which means it's going to help you get a nice straight line because your machine isn't going to wobble when it hits the fabric or make small stitches because it's struggling to get through. I can't show you on camera because it's just, I can't do it. But if I didn't do it, you can feel, and when you do it at home, if you just do it, you can feel there's quite a lot of bulk of fabric there because you've got the fabric folded down and the fabric folded across at this point here. But by just opening that seam up, you can see I just did that then without even having to unpick it.
Yeah.
It just gives you that little, and it's quite satisfying. But nobody but you knows it's there because obviously it's going to be hidden away underneath your fabric.
So not a compulsory twiddle,
No,
Jane.
you don't have to do it.
It is quite popular once
But
people start
we do love a
doing
little
it.
twiddle in the middle.
We do.
So you've got your four patch blocks there. So we've also got 4 squares that are the same size as our small flying geese units, and they're going to be the corners. So we can now start to construct our block.
Lovely.
So we need our middle square, and we're going to now put our flying geese either side of that square. If you want to, you can just trim off these little ears, as they like to be known. Just make sure that if you are trimming them, you've got 1/4 of an inch either side from the point of your triangle to the edge of your fabric. On the bottom corners, it's not, they will just line up with the edge of the fabric. So you've got no seam allowance here in the bottom corner. That just works its way into the seam. You don't lose the points of the triangle there. But you can do that, and some people find that just reduces the extra fabric that's within your patchwork. It's not essential, but some people find it easier for lining up their fabrics. So we're just going to line up the flying geese unit to the edge of the square. Again, you can pin it if you feel happier pinning. I'm just a slam it together and sew it kind of girl. You can see on your flying geese unit, if I can go close up, Gemma.
Making everyone dizzy, back and forth.
We've got like a little cross where the two seams overlap there. When you're sewing your flying geese unit, if you sew your seam and make sure that your line of stitches just comes above that cross, you'll always know that you're never going to lose the point of your flying geese. Now I've just gone slightly over on that one, and you can see it's just taken the point of that off.
A nibble.
A nibble. I'm not going to worry about that because overall that's not really going to notice. But if it was a lot bigger, I would unpick it and sew it again.
Yeah. Jane, would you sew your line of stitching before you unpick it so that it's all held still? Is that a thing?
Sometimes I do.
Yeah.
If I've got it spot on and I think, oh, it's just too wide, I will. But generally speaking, I tend to unpick first and then reposition and sew again.
Mm-hmm. There was a yay for your twiddle in the middle.
Love a twiddle in the middle. So we can see on this one that I've been much more accurate, and I've got it just above the cross. So when I flip that back, I've got a nice point just kissing the seam, which is what you really want to aim for.
Yes, lovely.
But, you know, on this one, is anybody really going to see that when it's in the full quilt?
No.
I know it's there, but I'm not going to stress about it. No. I'm going to press the seams in towards the middle square on this. This again will help further along. So just pressing that in on that side and on that side. I'm just giving it a little tug, not stretching it, but a little tug just to make sure that I've got my seam pulled as far as it will go without stretching the fabric. So the next thing to do with the other two flying geese is to sew your squares to either side of the short side of your flying geese unit. So we're going to do that, and again we can do that nicely chain piecing. It's quite straightforward, just lining up the edge of the square with the edge of the rectangle of the flying geese unit. And when I get to the end, I can just turn it around and chain piece from the other side. So again, it's quite a quick way of getting those squares on. And I can just use my rotary cutter then to cut this little bit of string in between the two of the flying geese, and then we can press that. And what we'll do, if we can go overhead again, James, that's it, lovely. We'll just press those now, we'll press them away from the flying geese unit so the seam sits underneath the square. This will help with the nesting of the seams in the other flying geese units against the main square, but also it's the seam of least resistance. If you can choose the seam that's got the least amount of sewing in it, it will sit flatter because there's less things for it to rook up against. So we're now going to place this on the top and the bottom of the square, and because we've pressed those seams towards the centre square and these seams the opposite way, again we'll get a nice nesting of the seams along that top edge. And again, I would probably incline just to sew it because I'm confident that it's in the right place, but there's nothing to stop you just putting a pin in either side just to hold it in place while you take it to the machine. And we'll just sew again. We use a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way through this unit. And we'll take those pins out, and we can do the same on the opposite side with the other flying geese unit with the squares on. So it comes together, sawtooth star comes together quite quickly, particularly when you use the 4-in-1 go flying geese method. It takes no time at all.
It's a lovely block as well.
It is.
Especially when you've got that feature fabric in the middle, it just feels like it's having its ta-da moment.
Yes,
It's got two
frame-
stars around it.
It
framing
frames it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does, and draws your eye to that feature fabric. I'm going to press the seams up and away, and it doesn't really like it very much because there's a lot of bulk going on there, and you could try and press it the opposite way, but again, it doesn't really want to go that way. It's a bit of a funny one with this, and you could, if you wanted to, try and do a twiddle with the seam in the corner. But you'll find quite often your fabric tells you which way it wants to go, and looking at this, it's sort of wanting to go towards the middle, so I'm going to press it in towards the middle. There we go. Of course, this iron's fabulous because it's nice and heavy, and it just goes right. You're going this way. That's it. It doesn't. No argument.
No messing.
Don't
Do as
mess.
you're told.
So right. So we've got the little sawtooth star completed there. So we're going to go again. We're going to put the large flying geese unit on the sides, either side, like so.
Lovely. Jane, let's not underestimate the sawtooth star here. It's a fabulous block in its own right, isn't it?
It is.
You know.
And you can do so many things. That middle square
Yeah.
can be lots of different patterns
Yeah.
within it, you know. The sawtooth star really does frame things. So just, and again, if you wanted to take your time and be more accurate, you can just pin this and make sure it's all lined up nicely. There we go. And we'll press those up and away from the centre block again, just so that we've got the opportunity to nestle seams each time.
That's so fresh, that ivory against there.
It is, isn't it? It gives it a real crisp,
It does.
crisp finish.
These are all the colours of my lounge.
Funny that.
Yeah. This might be making its way home with me.
Right. So our next 2 flying geese units, we're going to put the 4 patch units in. Now, because I wanted to have the feature bumbleberry fabric creating the square in the middle, I'm going to have it so that when I'm looking at my flying geese unit with the large triangle pointing, with the point facing towards me, I'm going to put my flying geese units in so that they go, my 4 patch units in, so that the feature fabric, the blender fabric, faces the bottom corner facing inwards against the flying geese unit. If I turned that around and did it that way, which would be perfectly acceptable, you would end up with your cream square in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing to stop you doing it alternately. So you would get alternate squares. So if you did one side with the square coming in and one side like that, you'd end up with alternate cream and gold.
Nice.
It's an option. So, you know, before you put everything together, maybe play with the units that you've got to see what other things you can create.
It's nice to have options as well, isn't it?
It is,
to make
because
it different
it's
ways, different times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just going to sew those on now, and again, just onto the side, short side of the flying geese unit. And another nice opportunity to chain piece. Just turn that around and we'll do the other side.
Oh, Jane, we've had lots of people dropping in during the show. Ginny's with us,
Lovely.
Ginny Mackie.
Hello.
Sending you love, Ginny. And she says good morning to us all on this soggy morning. It is quite soggy.
It is a bit, yeah. Not very pleasant driving in this morning.
No.
Spray
Pat
off those big lorries.
Oh, that's never fun, is it?
No.
No, Pat says good morning, all late again. It's all right. You can always watch us on catch up as well.
I was going to say,
Watch the first bit back.
It's on YouTube now for all to see forever and a day. So, yeah, you can always catch up. You can go to the website and watch it on catch up. There's a little button that's, I think it says videos, doesn't it? And then it's got watch live or it's got catch up.
They'll be on YouTube instantly. Our catch up pages just need a little updating as and when by our tech. Ginny Twin says good morning from New York.
Ooh,
Crikey.
we get coffee.
Yeah.
Bad New York accent.
Well, you know, at least we try. We love an accent round here, don't we?
We do love an accent.
I think the world would be terrible if everyone had the same accent.
Oh, it'd be boring.
I do love an
It would
accent.
be boring. So I'm pressing the 4 patch away so that the seam falls under the 4 patch, because I press the seam in towards the middle sawtooth star, just so that it helps with me getting my corners nestled. So I bring that top one in and press that, just line up those seams. I'm just going to pop a pin in there just to hold it and nestle up beautifully. And it just makes sure everything's in the right place.
It's come together nicely, that, Jane.
It comes together beautifully,
You're
and
not
I
on
can
it
just
for a living. Beautiful.
just pop a pin in there just to hold that for me while I take it to the machine.
Marvellous. What I love about this, it's not a tricky one at all.
No, nice, simple, basic units that come together to create a quite fabulous block. And that's one of the things I do love about patchwork, is it can be the simplest units that can create quite a stunning block at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I remember, I started working here now about 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Jane took me under her wing and got me to do a different block every month. Set me a little challenge. And yeah, I mean, I road tested lots of things for you, didn't I?
Yeah.
And the sawtooth star, I was so thrilled with it. And I mean, I looked at it and went, oh, Jane. And you said, no, you're going to be so pleased with this one. Honestly, have a go. And it was a really straightforward block to put together, but I was chuffed to bits with it.
Yes.
So pleased with it.
It's such it is a lovely block. It
Still
really
one
is.
of my faves.
And as I say, it's such a versatile block. You can do so many things in the centre of your sawtooth star.
Yes.
You could have 4 patches going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
You could have little hourglass patches. You could do a square within a square. You could do all sorts of things. You could even do a little mini log cabin or something like that in the middle of it. It just frames... Oh, we've come and threaded. It just frames it beautifully.
Yeah, it is such a versatile block. But who doesn't love a star as well? I don't think stars ever go out of fashion.
No, I don't think they
Things
do.
come
They're
in
a
and
real
out, but
classic
stars,
that's always... I need to get the snips and just snip that end because it's not going to go through the needle because it's too fluffy. There we go.
Oh, Jimmy's had a triumph.
Oh,
I know. So Ginny was congratulating Jimmy on a triumph, said, so happy to read about your quilting triumph, well done. And then, of course, everyone's like, what is this triumph?
yes,
What is it?
tell
What
us,
is
do
it?
tell.
I know. Well, for those who don't know, Jimmy is blind and is the most fantastic quilter and sewer. We are very proud of amazing things we hear, we've done and seen.
Yeah.
But Jimmy has shared with us that he's been elected secretary of their state quilt guild.
Oh, how lovely.
And has put yes as a blind person. But what a phenomenal thing anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, Jimmy, we're very proud. You still absolutely baffle us. It really does. Just baffle us. And the wonderful things you share with us as well. We love to hear it all.
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing. Amazing. Congratulations. That's brilliant news.
Just worried about that.
What's it doing, Jane?
Yeah, I thought so. I'd gone a bit wobbly on my seam and I don't know if you can see it. I've gone a bit wide here, and by going a bit wide I've actually sewn through the point of my star there. So I'm just going to go back
We frequently
and
lose the
readjust
point
my
here.
seam width.
We frequently lose the point when talking, Jane, but what we don't want to do is lose the point when quilting or patching.
Lack of concentration. But it just has taken that.
It was all the talk
out.
of Jimmy's triumph. It distracted you.
Yes, it did.
It's incredible, though. Amazing.
Have we got an unpicker in here? No. We have got. No, we haven't got. I thought we got some little snips there as well.
Lots and lots of people congratulating Jimmy. That's lovely.
That's a lovely thing to achieve.
Amazing.
Brilliant. Right, I'm going to use the scissors. This is not the way to do it, ladies and gentlemen. But you'll be much safer with your unpicker. I can just get the pin under there now and just unpick that little bit of the seam. There we go. This is just because I just took my concentration away from my seam allowance just for a little bit and went a bit wobbly.
But you know, Jane, it's good to see. I remember, again, when I was going through all my early blocks, the one I brought into you, and I was so cross because I just was like, Jane, I've done it completely wrong, completely wrong. And you're like, no, look, your seam allowance is out by a smidge. Just on that one block, and on that one part of the block. And consistency is key, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I think the thing for you was, because you're so, as a nail artist, you're so used to seeing things in minute detail that you were noticing every little error.
Yeah.
And I think patchwork can be quite forgiving because you do tend to be looking at it. We use the phrase the 3-foot rule.
Yes.
and you two tend to be looking at your work 3 feet away. So if it's on the back of the sofa, you're usually about 3 feet away from it. And if it's on your bed, you're standing up looking at it, you're about 3 feet away. So if you can't see the mistake from 3 feet away, it's fine.
So there are those that put a mistake in intentionally here and there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. They do.
Look at this.
So you'll get your 2 blocks and you'll put them together like so. And this, at this point, you've got seams that you can match as well.
Lovely.
So you can put them together like so. You've got your seam. Because we've done the twiddle, we're not going to get that one to go. So we can always fold it back so it nestles. The thing is, with your seams, they're hidden in your work anyway, so nobody knows which way your seam's going and whether it should be going that way or not. When you get to the points of your triangles here, it's always worth just sticking your pin in where that point is there. Should be about 1/4 of an inch, and they should line up and match beautifully, but we all know that some of our seams don't always match exactly. For those of us that are slam it together and hope for the best type of patchworkers. It just gives you that little bit of consistency. Just fold the pin along the seam line. It just holds it together while you then take it to the machine. And again, I'm going to fold that. No, I'm not. It's not going to work. But what I can do is I can just pop my pin in along those seams there to hold the fabric down and hold it together so it won't move while I sew across 2 seams. You'll sew all of your blocks into pairs. And then you sew your pairs into 4s, and that makes your row.
Yeah. So you'll have a row of 4. Jane, that would make a fabulous runner.
It would. It would.
Table runner, bed runner.
Bed runner, beautiful.
This is multi-purpose, this pattern.
Yeah. You know, if you wanted to do a table runner, why not use Christmas fabrics?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, and the stars, which automatically work for Christmas, always.
Always.
I've seen people do a big star like this one and put it onto the back of a denim jacket.
Yes.
And it looks amazing.
It does.
It looks
stunning.
really amazing. And then, again, you get to feature your favourite print there. Straight in the middle of your back.
Yeah.
Loads
So there
of
we
options.
go.
Oh, look at that.
We've got some threads there. We can always just go back into the seam,
Sure.
find the thread and just pull it back through.
Yep.
Sometimes it's fabric, sometimes it's a thread, and you'll know because if you pull it and it puckers your fabric up, you know it's a thread and it's not a loose one.
Yeah.
And it's just a case of going into the seam allowance and just pulling it back through.
Look at that. It's beautiful.
So they come together like that to form that square. I've got 2 here. I was hoping to get them sewn together into a pair, but it didn't get time. But we can put them in and you can see how that 4 patch creates that little square in the middle, like so.
Lovely. And like we
Let's
say,
turn that
compared
around.
to your original sample, which is now for sale, incidentally, everybody.
Yeah.
Compared to that original sample, you've swapped light for dark and dark for light, pretty much.
Yeah.
And what a difference
Overall,
that's
you'll
made,
get that diagonal
Yeah.
line of the dark teal colour.
which looks great.
Quilting wise, it's very straightforward to quilt. If you wanted to quilt it that way, you can go fancy if you want to. But I would, if it were me, I would quilt through my seams to stabilise my quilt. So
Okay.
quilting through my blocks. And then I would just echo the main star there and then echo it again along here. And I would probably do a diagonal line through there and there. I might bring that diagonal line all the way through so it goes through the centre square too. Or not, just do it there and there and just quilt inside that square just to highlight it. You could get it overall quilted.
Yeah.
You could have fun and you could do lots of a quilting pattern inside these squares.
And there's loads of opportunity there,
Yeah,
not there?
there's lots
That
of
would
things you
look
could
great.
do with it.
Oh, Jane, it's fabulous. I love it. And I love, and we can see actually on the front shot now, when you look down at the desk and then look up again, just how differently it pans out based
Yes.
on having your dark fabrics as your shadow star or your light fabric as your shadow
Yeah.
star.
Absolutely.
So if you do decide you want to purchase your own fabrics and you want to get Jane to choose your planes for you, then that's absolutely fine. Like we said earlier, buy your units of print, or maybe you've already got one, which is fine. Pop your 4 meters, so 8 units of your plain into your basket. Explain to Jane what you'd like to achieve. Do you want your shadow star? So Jane, if you can just pop your finger around and show me which is the shadow star.
The bigger one
Yes.
is the shadow.
Do you want that to be
We can
light,
have it light, or you can
or
have
do
it
you want it
dark.
to be sort of more dominant and dark?
So the dark one. Let's put the 2. If we can pop it. Oop.
And then a unit
Yeah.
of bumbleberry or a blender. And we will help you. We will help you to create
We
that.
will help you create whatever
Yeah, of
you
course.
wish, really.
There we go. Just going to pop it in the middle so you can see the
Oop.
difference. Looks lovely. It really does. It looks great. Talking of you matching up colours for people, Jane, we've got a message here from Joy who says, "Oh, exciting, your parcel has just arrived full of lovely autumnal colours. Thank you so much for my colour matching, my order, Jane. They
You're
go
welcome.
beautifully with the panel I'm doing for my mum's 99th birthday. Thank you so much."
It was a team effort. We do work as a team here,
We
really do. It's, you know, we never sort of, we're confident in our own,
Yeah.
but we like to get a second opinion and
Yeah.
a little bit of an input from others as well, because it always helps.
Personal taste comes into it, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
it's nice to have us all cast an eye over it, but
Yeah.
we do. Look at that. Yeah, see, look the difference.
So the difference, the shadow star with the darker and the pale fabric in the background just gives a different effect again.
Yeah, it does. It does. Jane, I love this. Really versatile. Be great for all ages, for all
Yeah.
occasions, like you say, Christmas, to make table runners, bed runners, cushions.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pattern that you'll go back to time and time
Yeah,
again.
I think it's a classic one that
It really
that you
is.
will once you've and it's not a difficult block.
No,
You know,
no, it's not.
it comes together quite quickly. Making up the units,
It's not.
and making the units using the 4-in-1 flying geese method is a
Yeah.
quick way of making 4 flying geese all in one go. So again, it's you know, it's not a lot of working on piecing and stuff.
No, I'm going to come and see you, Jane. I'm going to
Are
come
you?
up
You're going
here.
to
I
show
know.
some goodies.
I've been off camera for ages. Oh, gosh. Hi, everyone. I haven't done my hair, look, 'cause I didn't think I was going to be on camera. Look, a bit of a mess. I am busy today. I am busy adjusting prices on things. Natasha has said we are moving. And so we're having a big warehouse clear down. Now, with the best will in the world, Jane, when I'm tapping away, trying to reduce prices, I can't be changing your camera angles.
No.
So not a lot is done yet. There will be items added throughout the day, but I've just grabbed a few that have already gone on.
Yes.
Because I think you all ought to have a little peep and just see what's going in there. We have got
Let's move this
the
out the way.
tuck lock buckles. We don't have many of a lot of these things, and this is the other thing, you know, what's the point of us packing just a few items? So we've got the 31mm size and the 47mm. This is the nickel black, the smaller one, and the gold here. Now these are 30% off. You will not see these lower. This is not going to happen. We have a handful of these. Natasha did a beautiful tuck lock bag actually, and again, you know, those instructions are still available. The ultra thimble. Jane,
Always handy for your
these
quilting.
are great, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go into close-up actually. If Jane, if you can show that, that'd be great. The ultra thimble, you've got the little metal thimble, you've got the sticky adhesive dot there that just adheres it to your
That's
finger.
a little, it's like the top of, you know, your thimbles that we all know and love, the metal one. That is like the top of it, and it just sits on the pad of your finger.
Yes.
So particularly for quilting, it's nice to have that one underneath, so that when you pull your needle down, you've got that against your finger to catch the needle, as it were.
Absolutely.
And then you've got the adhesive pads there that you can use again and again.
Now, Jane, we've used the leather patches before, which Natasha likes, but you're a vegetarian, so that wouldn't be your preference. You'd go for these.
Yes, absolutely.
There's also adhesive dots, replacement adhesive dots, and we've got those as well. Those are 30% off too, so keep an eye out for those. Once these are gone, they're gone. We won't be buying more and having them at the same price, because that's not what clearance is about. We also have the handy tape. Now, the handy tape is 25 feet long. It's repositionable and it's sticky, isn't it, Jane?
Yes, it's like
She says.
sellotapey.
Here, look. I'm trying to show you. I don't know if we can. No,
No.
I don't want to ruin it because it's
No.
going to someone. But here you see, it says self-adhesive measuring tape. Really, really clever. Really, really useful.
It is in a 12-inch repeat,
Yes,
so
it is.
it's okay if you wanted to have like your yard measure on your table, on your
Yes.
work table, but just remember that it goes from 1 to 12, 1 to 12, 1
Yes,
to 12.
Exactly, Jane. That one. You've done projects with the 28mm rotary cutter, haven't you?
Yeah, when
Can
you've
we do a
got
little
little,
close-up?
when you've got little templates to go round with your ruler,
Yeah.
it's really handy to have a 28mm. You know, small projects,
Yeah.
intricate like corners to get to and things like that. The smaller rotary cutter is your friend.
Yeah, they really are. And they're not something we stock all the time necessarily. We stock them when we have a project coming up that we're going to use them for. We only have a handful of these, and they will definitely not go lower than the price we've got them today because they are basically at cost price.
It's an offer. It's a
Yeah,
nice,
incredible.
nice
The
one to
last
have.
thing I'm going to show you very quickly that's already been reduced, and these will disappear at a rate of knots, is the Prim Love turning set. Now, I don't know why she's reducing these. I feel quite sad about it. These come in infrequently. They fly out equally as frequently. I think with these, Natasha's concerned they'll get broken when we move them. If we've got them in boxes, and
Yes,
there's heavy
it's danger.
things. And
Yeah,
so she's going to clear those. We will get those back when we can, but they will be at full price. So if you've ever wanted the Prim turning set, and trust me, once you've got it, you'll wonder how on earth you coped without it. That is a great opportunity to grab that at 30% off today. All right. Now
Fabulous.
those are just a handful of the things that I've got. A
yeah.
handful. Mostly at 30% off. I've put the handy tape at 50% off.
Because you
'Cause
can.
I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can. Because we got those at a really great price, so we're passing that on. We do that wherever we can. It says on here, Jane, that it's a great item for marking seams and hems, odd-shaped items, and for adding a measuring guide to any work surface or table.
Yes. Yeah.
Useful for
Very handy.
hems and things. This
Yeah.
is good. Amazing. There's lots and lots and lots of things going to be added.
Yes, it's quite
Yes,
exciting.
There is. And any support you give us, we of course appreciate greatly. We love you for it.
Yes, we do.
We do.
We do.
Because we are a small business and we deliver these shows to you. Perhaps you're with us for the first time today, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. UK time for free. We don't get paid for the shows. So when you support us by purchasing our items, and maybe you're an international viewer, when you buy our digital patterns, as you can, then that keeps us here.
Yeah.
So thank you for that too.
Keeps us doing what we love, which
It
is
does.
very nice of you. Thank you.
It does indeed.
Yeah.
Natasha's got 2 fabulous shows for you in the next 2 days, talking about shows that will be
Yes.
coming up.
She's got some lovely things coming, hasn't she?
She has, and then you'll be back with us next week, Jane.
Yes. I've got it might be another cushion, finishing cushion with flair project. It's a little cushion, a little quick make, lots of fun, a little bit cheeky.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll love it.
And you've been busy crocheting, haven't you?
I have.
So we had our crochet kits on last week. Jane
I
wanted to
just couldn't
purchase more
resist
than
the
one.
dragon.
You got more than one, didn't you?
Yes,
but
I
the
did.
dragon, she's already got that started. You
Yes.
can bring it in for us and show us a bit
Yes,
of
I
it.
will. I'll try and remember to bring it in for next week, and you
Yeah.
can see how far I've got.
If I
I'm
get
not
my
doing
way,
it very
it'll be in the
quickly.
next couple of days.
Yeah.
You've done a little tiny bit so far.
Yeah,
Little snout.
a
coming
little
on.
nose. Yes.
But it's not difficult.
No, no. I'm not an accomplished quilter, crocheter.
Mhm.
You know, so for me, it's following the pattern and making sure I get it right. And so far, it's been quite straightforward. So,
Great.
yeah, very nice.
I can't wait to see Doris. I'm looking forward to it. As for you, we will see you very, very soon. 10 a.m. tomorrow, in actual fact, with that
Yes.
and Natasha.
Yeah,
I'll be in the corner while she's at Pier.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. Do buy that sample if it hasn't already gone, and your kits while you can. We have limited stock of this Morris. It's something we got in specially for this project. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Shall I
Those
put
few
those
bolt
4
ends that we
blocks
have.
together and somebody can maybe buy that? Or is that going in your house? Yeah, I thought it might be.
Well, I'm damn surprised we're not wrestling over this day, because you know they're your favourite colours.
Yeah, they are
as
my
well.
favourite colours too.
We shall see. We shall see.
Yeah.
We're going to have a chat with Tash and see what she says. If it goes up on the website at some point, then you'll need to grab it quick, because it means that I have taken my eye off the ball momentarily had a lapse of judgment, and that I'll be taking it back down to buy it again.
Yeah.
So yes, just
It
keep
will
an eye out
literally
where you
be that. There won't be any extra fabrics with it.
Yeah.
It will just be the 4 blocks sewn together.
If.
So, if
if it doesn't end up in my lounge.
yeah.
Thank you very much. You take care. We'll see you tomorrow. Lots of love.
Bye bye.
Bye. Right, we're clear.